Welcome to Building My Legacy podcast. This podcast is designed for leaders and entrepreneurs who want to leave a legacy and will provide strategies that focus upon key elements for legacy creation, determining your desired impact and its benefit, increasing your legacy's reach by engaging key stakeholders, planning, prioritizing, and executing. Here's your host, Dr. Lois Sonstegard.
Hello, everybody. We have today with us on Building My Legacy podcast, Andrea Di Agostini.
Hi, guys. Nice to be here.
And he is very interesting because he is a serial entrepreneur. He speaks French, Spanish, Italian, I'm guessing, because you've been on Italian television, and obviously English as well. He's a creative person. He has hosted and managed a show in Italy, which is quite impressive. You've done a lot of work in digital marketing, and used that creative part of you to really help people build their businesses. So, Andrea, tell us a little bit about your background, your history, and how you arrived at where you are today.
Got it. Well, the reason why I became an artist was actually by exclusion. So I'm Italian, first of all. And when I was in high school, I wasn't coming from a rich family. So I wasn't part of the rich people. I wasn't very involved in the politics. So I wasn't part of that group. I wasn't partying much. So I wasn't part of the people that were partying. And so basically I had a hard time to go out with girls. So by exclusion, I was like, well, then I'm an artist because I don't belong to anything. So I must be an artist. And so I started acting and practicing this type of craft, which I found to be extremely, it's amazing. Like the flow of communication you can create through art is quite amazing. And I then I got scripted. I got hired for a TV series, like a soap opera type of thing, a fiction. And I learned to act in that context. So I did a few, one after the other. And when you act in soap operas, you don't act normal. You don't act like, hey, how are you doing? You don't act like that. When you are in soap operas, everything you say like this, whatever it is, whatever, like, where are the keys? Can you tell me where the bathroom is? Like, it's the same. You always speak with this, with flavor of sexiness in the voice, no matter what you say. So I did that for a little bit. And then they tried to hire me for an actual role, for like a major TV show, like a movie, for theater. But I still acted only like this, no matter the scene, no matter the context. That was the only way I know how to act. So I was like, I'm really upset, and that doesn't go right with me. And the director was like, no, you need to be actually upset. I am really upset. It's like, no. Like, you did the same thing that you did before. You need to be really upset. But I am really upset. So it was the only way I could act. And so it didn't go right. In that context, I got hired for do some TV shows, though. So sorry, to host some shows, and in national television, I did over 300 of them, and I had like a great time. Toward the end of the TV show era, I found out that it wasn't the quality of the communication, what I was instructed to say, and the context was not really what I wanted to say to people. And in that same time, I did a lot of commercials. I was the actor, and in some cases, I wrote a lot of commercials. And I found out that, in my personal opinion, businesses had no idea on how to actually communicate with people. So I thought, well, I think that's more in very obvious, which is most television to me. It's very obvious. What you say as a host, it's quite obvious, unless you're doing instigation, things like that. So I went out and I started to work in the marketing field. So I was lucky enough to land some major contracts pretty quick. And that's what started the whole activity. I started in music, to be specific, to do marketing for music in the music industry. So in 2008, I produced the biggest independent tour in Europe, which was called Aqua Tour, 2008. And the year before, I finished college, and my essay, my thesis, that's how it's called in Italy, the thesis, was on marketing and was on how to make money in the music business. And so I did it. And I thought I was the ultimate entrepreneur. I thought I was a genius. And shortly after producing this tour, I sold the idea. I sold the idea to a marketing company for 100,000 euros. And I thought I was the best. Like I really thought I know everything about everything. And I'm just arrived. I should just retire. And then as soon as I sold it to them, they turned around and they sold it for 1.2 million to somebody else. And I felt so stupid, but so dumb. And that was a great lesson. And luckily, I never stopped learning ever from that point on. Through time, I did beautiful project with Sephora for 3 years. We did all their digital assets between 2011 and 2013. In that same period of time, we did Lacoste shoes. We did Pandora, the jewelry company, not the radio, in Italy. And in 2013, end of 2013, I decided that it was time to do something else. I was kind of like, okay, I understand this game. It's interesting. So I sold my marketing agency. I kept a few contracts that were recurring, and I moved to the United States. And in the United States, I took a year off. And it was in beautiful in Tampa, that has one of the most amazing beaches that you can imagine. And I spent some time there. And then in 2014, a small energy company, which is called American Power and Gas, asked me if I wanted to become a vice president there and take care of the PR and marketing. And we did that. We worked very well. We went from the very, very tiny to one of the fastest growing company in the United States, for sure, energy company, and probably in general as company. We won an award in 2016 from the Tampa Bay Business Journal. And we grew for 166% in 3 years. So it was beautiful, year over year, obviously. And then in May of this year, 2021, I decided that I reached what I wanted to achieve with this particular business. So I decided to continue in a different journey, teaching entrepreneurs and helping companies to scale. And I'm really enjoying what we're doing now. We launched basically my model as far as marketing is concerned is not really marketing as a service, is marketing as a product. I believe the marketing agency model is not a smart model, is not current with the current times. So we evolved it into marketing as a product. So based on the tier that you're in, how much money you can spend, where your company is, the stage of your company, we accelerate the companies in different ways. And normally we end up participating in the company. So starting in May, between May and now, we went from 0 to 67 full-time staff members. We cracked 7 figures after the second month. And we're gonna pass the 8 figure by first quarter of 2022. And it is being really enjoyable.
So, Andrea, would you speak more about product as marketing as a product versus as an agency concept?
Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, when you have an agency, you have a certain number of services and you try to place the services. Whatever you're strong in, this is what you're going to try to place. So there are companies that are trying to say, Facebook is the way. Companies are trying to say this other service is the way, and so on. So those are services. Marketing as a product, it is because the new way to look at business, in my opinion, in the marketing field, is how can you create long-term assets in the business that you work with, and so participating in the businesses. This way, you're really trying to do only what's needed. Like your conversion is determined by what's needed in that business. Now, obviously, to be able to do that, you need a broad understanding of how to scale a business, how to accelerate a business. On average, we can add to a business $1 million in less than 12 months to their bottom line. And this is because I've managed 200 plus sales team, telemarketing team, door to door, and high ticket consultants. I've done marketing for a beauty industry with over 250 brands, for fashion, for consulting firms, and so on. So I understand supply chain, I understand pricing, I understand sales, scripting, how to delegate, how to build infrastructure. And so one needs to think about marketing as if you are plugging a product into a company, and as if you are trying to build an asset for your business. In fact, I have a holding company. Like we start with, usually we call it acceleration program with a business. The business wants to work with me. They come in. We put them on a very strict acceleration diet where they have to accomplish certain targets and certain points by a certain time. And after a little bit, usually we want to evolve the relationship, and we end up participating in the company in different percentages. And my staff takes over most of the marketing functions, and we mentor the CEO on how to build the business and scale it quickly. And that's really fun. It's really beautiful because you create wealth, you create survival, you create people winning, and that's beautiful. I think entrepreneurs are artists in their own way, because they have to create their company every day. Every day you're creating it. So to me, that's art. And I think that part of the job of the entrepreneur is to reshape society. And I think that the renaissance that we are hoping for in the near future is not going to be created by banks or by politicians. It's going to be created by entrepreneurs that really put innovation into motion. And when I say entrepreneurs, I would like to put one specific in that. In my definition of an entrepreneur is someone whose product actually does something for society. There are certain activities right now, like let's say, there are a lot of activities related to finance, like multiplying money by using a bot that makes exchanges in the crypto world. I own a company, I own 20% of a company that does exactly that. I don't believe in that model. So for them to work with me, they had to evolve their model in something that contributes to society. Just multiplying the money is not a good thing. It seems good because it appeals to the model that we have today, which is the Instagram model. Like life is what you show on Instagram, right? But actually, you are not doing something that contributes to society. Just multiplying money. There is no exchange. There is nothing that you're giving to society. And unfortunately, it's a perversion that right now I see a lot in business. Doing things for the sake of money is actually an incredible enemy of excellence. Like if you want to be excellent, you're not doing it for money. You're doing it to be excellent and to give a exchange to your customers. And then money comes in as a result. But for the sake of money, it's enemy of excellence. You can do a horrible product and find a way to trick customers into buying it and making money. But that's not the game that I want to play.
So, Andrea, how do you decide or know when a company has a product that's good for people, for the overall benefit of society?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, you look at the product, you check the product, you see the product, you try the product, and so you have a subjective experience on it. Then in the first part of the process, when companies work with us, one of the steps in the execution, find out whether or not your product creates word of mouth. If the product creates word of mouth, so it exceeds the expectation of whoever is the target, and so it talks about it to others, and others buy it and they talk about it and so on, that's a product that is exceeding the expectation of whoever is the person that you are targeting. And that's a very good indicator. So there is a subjective aspect. There is looking at the entrepreneur and understanding his intentions. There is looking at the results of what it's getting created. And then there is what the customer says about it. So those are the three main vectors that determines whether or not a product is great. Sometimes I might fall in love with the entrepreneur himself. He might not have found yet the right optimized product, but he has amazing intentions and he really wants to create it. And he really wants to go through the process to make it credible. That's worth to me. That's better to have one another and try to do better. So I like that too.
So how do people, I want to go back just a moment. You have a very specific selection process that you put people through. You have a tiered process in a sense. So people start at one level and then you move. You have a very specific process you take people through. You have an initial, almost testing process, a pre-process, a pre-application, a pre-getting to know you process, or getting to know you. Then you accelerate people into, now that I know you, let's start seeing what you will do and are willing to do, I think, and then let's get it done. It's almost like a 3-step process that you have from what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
It's a 5 steps process, but yes, you're very, very, very correct. You're very correct.
So tell me your 5-step process.
Okay. So beside the initial interview and understanding and liking the business, if we start, we go through a process that is called finding gaps. So usually a business has already some sort of process existing, some activities occurring, and our game is to check their process against a map that we have built on what needs to be there for a business to accelerate. The area that normally businesses have more problems with, they think they have a problem with sales and marketing. Usually is incorrect. They don't have a problem with that yet. They have a problem with something that happens before, which is the phase where we call it market analysis to make it simple, but is the phase where you theorize what problem you are solving with your product or service. You test how you are communicating it with the audience. You define how many audiences you have, and then you build a successful way of closing. So you create a feedback loop for which you manually, or you don't use automation at that point, use very little automation. You test how you're going to get to the close, and if you're going to get referrals or not from what you have done. So that part is normally what people or business are missing. They have usually wrong premises on what will sell. And normally they have built a product before checking whether or not it's solving a perceived problem. So they build a product, they invested a lot of money, and they're like, and now I don't know how to sell it. And normally it's not the product. So they have to modify it or fix it in various ways. And so that's the first phase. That's the first we do. Second phase is when we go into marketing. And so we expand the creation of demand. The third phase is sales. The first phase of marketing is not paid advertising yet. Usually is building your mailing list and testing that the initial communication that you think is going to work. It keeps working on broader numbers. Then you go into sales and you do the scripting, you define the exact sales process and conversion percentages. And then you go into paid advertising. So you're going to start to increase the number of people dramatically. At that point, you plug in external sales team. It needs to keep certain percentages of conversion. And the final step is the actual scaling of operation, because at this point you will have more sales, more demand, and you need to scale the company, which means entering into the how you hire, how you position, how you train your people, and so on. So those are the phases. So
when a company decides to come and work with you, Andrea, they're past the startup stage, generally, I'm guessing, because the biggest problem that startup entrepreneurs have is they have a poorly conceived idea yet. It's not tested sufficiently to really be able to accelerate it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So at what point do you really get engaged in businesses?
I have a variety. We have over 400 companies that are in different stages of execution within our ecosystem. Let me give you 3 different examples, just to make 3 examples. One company is definitely a startup. It started with us as a startup in 2019, end of 2019. It started with us. We scaled this company was making $9,000 a week, and it was a weight loss technology. They were making $9,000 a week. We scaled it to $67,000 a week. And now we partner with them. Like now I bought 35% of the business. So that was a startup phase, and they had all sorts of things to fix, like a plethora of things to fix. Another company, and this one is called Body Contours. It's in LA. Now it's also in Tampa because we started a franchising. It's in Atlanta, Tampa, and in other locations. Another one is called Viva Concepts. Viva Concept is roughly a $30 million company in the marketing field that aims to really accelerate the growth of dentists. They have an incredible method, like they're geniuses. And we started with them September, in the beginning of September. And we're solving a specific set of issues that they have because most of their system is pretty good. They have a couple of areas where we can optimize and make the difference and like double the company or triple the company for sure. So that's another example. And then we have a wine company. Just to give you very like a broad spectrum of kind of businesses, which is called Tenute di Donna. It's an Italian company, Italian winery that have like. I don't like wine, but I like that wine. Like I don't drink at all, like nothing. But so I am boring in this sense. But this particular one is amazing, and the owner of the company is a man of honor. Like it's really an incredible guy. So I liked a lot the company, and he was like after me. He tried to get me to pay attention to his thing. He bought every possible training that I have ever put out. It was there at every seminar that I've ever done. And he kept asking me, can you please work with me? Can you please work with me? So we ended up working with them. They have a production company that is at $5 million where they are servicing other brands. And then they have their own brand, which is just above startup phase, just like, we can say it's a startup phase. So we started with them. I love the business. And now I took 50% of the brand because I love it. So the companies are really different one from the other. I know very well the food and beverage industry in the United States as well as in Europe. So it's something that I know we could make a substantial difference in the business. But those are very, very different one from the other. And what I love about them is the quality of the entrepreneurs, for sure, the heart of the entrepreneurs, and their desire to do something that truly contributes to their customers. So I really like that. And this is just to give you some examples. It really depends on what I found out is if there is a common category amongst the people that wants to work with me, is that they know they need to invest in themselves and their understanding of the processes in order to scale their business. So it's not about the size of the company, it's about the understanding that there is a need that they need to satisfy, and they have to find someone that had a broad experience to be able to satisfy all those areas. So that's a common element. I found the people that wants to work with me, I consider them a Renaissance men, Renaissance people. They want something more. They don't want to buy 3 Lamborghini or things like that. In fact, I have an Instagram account because my team wants me to have one. If it was for me, I won't have it. Like I don't want to show anything. Like there's nothing that I want to show. But sometimes my guys want to post pictures of things, and sometimes I take them off because I'm like, that's showing off. I don't like this stuff. It just doesn't belong to me. It's not the direction that we are going for. It's really not. Also because, I know a lot of people, as do you, right? I know a lot of people, and some of the entrepreneurs that I know are very, 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 very wealthy in terms of I know even a couple of billionaires and many 9-figures entrepreneurs and so on. That doesn't mean that they're happy. Like most of them have a life that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to keep mine. I don't want to have that as a life. So, Instagram life and then life are two very different things. So we should focus more. I'm writing an article for Forbes right now, which is metrics of success. Like metrics of success. We hear this word successful a lot. Oh, it's so successful. Successful, right? But what are we using to measure it? If it's like that, your bank account needs to look like a phone number. Okay, if that's your stat, then that's your stat. It's not mine, because we should. What if for once we try to find out a way to measure quality of life, kindness, how helpful you are, how trying to contribute to society. I don't know, something other than just the scoreboard, which is money is the scoreboard. And it's an interesting philosophical discussion. I am presenting some theories on how could you measure success. And I think it's really worth it. And I think we need it. We have been educated to a Instagram culture where the life they portrayed is not real. Like, it's not that.
I would agree with you there. And what I like about your philosophy is, and about your posting, is that we have so much hype right now, nothing is believable. So, I see things on internet, people say, I do this, I do that for you. And you go, okay, but so do 1,000 other people. And none of it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, you're so right, Lois. It's so true. Yeah, I totally agree. There are many gurus that, that like, here's how I made $15 million in 20 minutes without working. And I'm like, who does want to do that? Like, if the purpose of working, of finding a job, is to make money so you can stop working, if the contribution, what you're adding to society is grab some money so you can go on a beach with a drink, if that's your contribution to society, there is something fundamentally wrong in how we are thinking society. Like, it just cannot work. If everybody would do that, we won't have anything, like zero. It will collapse. So it can't be the right way. It just cannot. So I think we are on the verge of some sort of evolution. And I'm not talking about like a spiritual evolution or anything of that sort. I think that people will look around and like, this thing probably won't work. And so they will probably start to think, well, probably I need to contribute to society. Let me think about it for a moment. Maybe I should do something more than find a way. There are a lot of like tricks right now, right? Tricks. We are in a society of templates, right? So we're trying to trick the guy into buy the product so we can get enough money and then stop working. And to me, this is insane. If you're doing something that you're passionate about, why would you want to stop? Like, why? Then it's false. And that's why I think we have a lot of these type of posting and this type of content. And I think it's amazing. Like, what you have experienced in your life, I read a little bit on LinkedIn, is amazing. So if I can ask for something, I would love a few minutes that we have available now, and then maybe a whole episode in the future. I would love to know your story, because you said mine is interesting. Yours is way more interesting than mine. I would love to know your adventures. I think you had a life full of it.
Well, thank you for that. And I would love to have another episode and to share some of those stories. And you know what? I think, Andrea, here is, I think, where the power lies. And we talk about leadership loosely. We have books on leadership. And I interviewed Pasquale, a fabulous guy in leadership. And he asked the question to begin with, when we have all the research on leadership we have, and we have all the problems we have, leadership is doing something wrong because we haven't solved the problems, right? And so you look at that and you go, okay. And part of, I think, what comes is people who have experiences, you, me, a lot of people coming and looking at, how do we do this differently? Very differently. So I would love to continue that conversation.
Well, thank you very much. I would love to continue it as well. And it was a pleasure to share a little bit of it with you.
Thank you so much. And for those of you who are listening to Building My Legacy podcast today, thank you so much for being with us. And remember to visit our website at www.build2tomorrow.com. And Andrea, you have been just wonderful. I appreciate your perspective in this world of hype, your pragmatism, but your sensibility that you bring to it. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your words. It was a pleasure being with you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You've been listening to Building My Legacy podcast with Dr. Lois Sonstegard. To book your appointment with Dr. Sonstegard, visit www.buildtomorrow.com.